You guys see it's recording?
Yeah, it is.
Cool. Yeah. So sorry. They're visiting.
Yeah, no, they came home just from school and stuff like that, and just like kind of every day they were like, "Bro, like you got to come out, like we're doing something tonight, like come on, man." And yeah.
So where do you live?
Well, I used to live in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I did school there for like 2 years, but I kind of took a year off this year, and like my trading's been going like really well. And my parents were like, "Listen, like if you want to take a year off to like figure out kind of like what you want to do till you like move out and stuff like that, like you can go ahead. If I want to go back to school, I can. Like I still have all the credits, and I had like a really good GPA, but I just like it just became kind of too much with school. So I was like, listen, if I'm going to go back to school, because basically my routine at university, I remember making those bounce videos, and it was like at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And basically what I do is that I'd wake up at 6 a.m. and that'd be 5 a.m. market time. And I'd just take a shower, kind of get ready. And I'd pretty much trade till noon or like 1 o'clock. And then after that, I had a bunch of classes in the afternoon. I'd go to my classes in the afternoon, and I'd either study trading or I would just study like school. And that's what I did. And I pretty much had no social life the past like 2 semesters of just not talking to anyone. And people were like, listen, we thought you dropped out. Like, we didn't even know that you were here. But it's like, I couldn't go out and party that often because it just didn't work. Like if I went out and partied, I'd either be behind where I wanted to be on trading stuff, or I'd be behind where I wanted to be on school stuff. So yeah, my parents were like, listen, I also had a double hernia. I just got surgery on that like a month ago. Like it was kind of like emergency surgery, and it hurt really bad. I couldn't even get up. Actually, it was a Sunday, I remember, and I was like, I got to get down to my setup because I was upstairs, and I was like, I got to get down. I got to trade. My parents were like, no, like you can't trade. Like, but that was like my motivation to try and get up and walk again, was literally trading. I was going up and down my hall on a walker trying to like practice walking. But yeah, yeah, that was about it. So basically my parents were like, listen, like we really want you to come back home. We see that like, trading is going well for you. And like, if you want to just come back home and live with us, like we really want you to. Like most times it's the opposite. Most times people's parents are like, no, like you got to get kicked out. But no, my parents were like, listen, we'd really like you to come home. Like your GPA is fine. If you want to go back to school, you can. But like that was kind of what they wanted me to do. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll live and trade in your basement for pretty much free.
It's yeah, dude. Trading and going to school at the same time is so hard.
Oh,
Like
it's insane.
it's really hard. I mean, in a way I'm kind of lucky. Like I don't know how people like can trade and be in class at the same time. Like market opens 3:30 a.m. I can do both. Like I could go to school and trade separately and like have them be mutually exclusive. But like I don't know how, like if you live on the East Coast or anything, like it's like you have class and like a stock's about to reclaim VWAP and
Yeah,
you're short and you're
I
like
know.
like you don't want to be rude being on your computer, but it's like I mean
Yeah,
I gotta get out of here. Like I gotta
I
get out.
know. I know. Yeah, I remember there was one time. Well, my first year of university, that was when I was a short seller, and I remember there was one time that I was short like this fader, and it started to reclaim, but the Wi-Fi connection was like terrible in the classroom, so I had to like run out of the class and run to like Tim Hortons to like make sure I covered on time, and
It's
I was running. And I remember my friends were like, "What are you doing? Like, you just left econ like right before a quiz." I'm like, "Nah, man. Like, this would have burned my ass way more."
yeah, exactly. Fuck, it's hard.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So let's get it going.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me play around with this a little bit more.
Longs. I love it.
Right. I mean, keep it simple.
I agree.
I mean, because this game isn't. Okay. All right, so today, for those of you who this is your first webinar, welcome.
Thank
We
you.
have this, we have this every Thursday, and like normally the same people show up. Actually, more and more people are coming, so I don't know if it's the same people or not. But welcome if this is your first webinar today. Harry's joining me. We're going to talk about longs because that's I think probably most people in here are short bias. So this could be, like if you're not a short seller yourself, maybe if you're a short seller yourself, maybe you can kind of get a little glimpse into what like longs are thinking about. And if you're a longer,
for sure.
hopefully this helps. Yeah, of course everyone's here I'm here for Harry. I want to know.
Oh my God.
That's why I'm here. I was gonna cancel it. Anyway, so today we're gonna go over Harry's trades for a couple different reasons. One, because I mean Harry's here. He's got long trades that he wants to go over. Two, my trades sucked dick today and this week. So we're going to go through that. Harry's going to go talk about some of his processes and what he likes to look for in stocks in general. Then we have a weekly market sentiment where I kind of go over the market sentiment, what I think is, where I think we're headed, where we just were, where I think we're going, like trends that we're starting to see. And then we're going to Harry and I will go deep into conversation about longs and kind of like what we like to see and stuff. And then we'll end the Q&A we'll end the webinar with Q&A. And if at any time you have a question, please feel free. You guys can just ask at any time in the chat. We will scroll up at the end and get all of them. And if it is, pertaining to what we're talking about, we'll try to get to it right away. I'll shut up, Harry.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good.
All right. 5-9 fish, Dalen. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get going. Harry, talk us through some of these trades here.
Okay, this one right here. Okay. Okay. Kind of like the okay. I didn't know how this was gonna start, so like now I can kind of get into it. Okay, this one here. This trade basically, there was similar to Archon today. Archon was another one of these type of ones. And basically sometimes I remember seeing this like last March. This is when I started to kind of catch on. And trades like this, for me, it's like a low float that really hasn't been kind of recognized yet, I find. And it's like kind of like an undiscovered gem. So I guess what I'm looking for from this one was like, okay, there's like two types of low floats that kind of can gap up. There's the low floats that run super, super hard, and the low floats that are overextended pre-market, and the low floats that have been discovered kind of by the market and that are running. Like, there's some big ones like I'm trying to think of some lately. Like TCCO or like, those ones that just keep running and they're really overextended in the market. Then there's other ones that kind of fade like this. And I've been noticing that they'll have like kind of a pop if they don't die right away. Archon today, it was kind of a weird one where like, it was like, there wasn't really a lot of soaking action I found. And it was kind of like a little bit illiquid. And I would have loved, I remember watching that one thinking like, okay, like there was just like no soaking at all on it. Like the stock was kind of breaking down. I didn't really like that type of price action, but ones like here, you also know that shorts are trapped in like a zone between like the 480 and kind of the 520. So you also know that if that breaks, I was kind of anticipating a break because I saw that it just wasn't breaking down. For the amount of selling that was going on at that time, I noticed that it just was not breaking down. The stock was not breaking down. So I had a feeling that this would pop. And I know that for the most part, shorts are kind of stuck in that tight little range. So it can offer kind of a nice little pop. And that's exactly what I got out of it. And I was out pretty quickly because I know that these things can run, but I also know that these things can also fade really fast. And I'd rather just take the kind of safe money on it and kind of be out. But yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. There's two types of longs that I also like in the morning, and we'll get into this later. But there's the longs that are overextended, and I mean, every short seller is thinking that this stock is weak. Like this stock just looks weak. It looks terrible. Like this stock looks like it's going to go red on the day. But what happens is that it looks so weak that it's almost too good to be true, and it ends up popping and squeezing all of the short sellers. And that was kind of the play that I was looking for on this.
All right. And it seems like it works really good out of the open, this kind of like this
Yeah,
undiscovered gem. If it's a, just quietly kind of just goes and breaks 5 and you're just kind of there for it.
yeah, for sure.
But it seems, and like, I think it almost seems like, so if this one were to tank, it almost invalidates the thesis, right? Because the thesis is that shorts kind of aren't getting let out. But if it tanks, then you can just cut it because it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
now they got their covers and now there's no demand higher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ones like stocks like that aren't really straightforward. Oh, this one's a straight up pike. All right, if you want to see a pike, this was the biggest pike I've had in a long time. This one was really terrible trading for me, but the problem was that I was thinking in my head like, okay, this is day 2. I don't know how much this move has to offer. You know, like this one I wasn't really sure of, even though it did keep going to like I think almost $3. This one was like one where, okay, below where I got in, just a little bit below, like I really thought that this was, yeah, like that level, like I thought this was done. I thought this one was gonna fade. But it just kept soaking and soaking and soaking, and every time it tried to break down, it just couldn't break down. It couldn't break down. It couldn't break down. It kind of popped up a little bit, and then it tried to do the exact same thing where it couldn't break those same levels. And I'm like, okay, there's something going on here. I'm going to take a little bit. And then when it kind of popped up, I was like, well, that's probably going to get stuffed, and then it's probably going to fall down again. Like, I don't even know what I was thinking. It was just kind of a reflex, like an impulsive trade. And then it came back up, and I was like, oh, well, I'm already up like, 10 cents or whatever. So I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to move on. And it was like I was watching another stock, and it didn't do what I wanted. And then I saw this one kind of do what I wanted from the other stock. And then I took this one. But my mindset on this one should have been that any short sellers that wanted to get in super quick are probably in around the $2 to the 210 mark. And as this started to move up, they were all underwater, and I should have known that. And then when you got that VWAP bounce, I should have just been a little bit more patient on it. But also I was like, this is day 2. This isn't a day 1. It is FSEAL, which like I really don't like the stock. It's like SES. I'm not comfortable in that stock either. And it's almost like the further on that RKDA got, the less comfortable I got in that one too, So it's like a lot of these companies are sketchy. They do play a lot of games. I do wish that I had held this longer, but I am mad that I piked it, but I'm also not mad that I piked it because, these are types of trades on day 2 where I want to be just kind of in and out quickly.
Okay. Yeah. I like it. And this one.
This one's probably my favorite trade of the week.
This was day one.
This was this was day 1.
Yeah.
And for this one, it was kind of the same thing as FSIL, where there's kind of, I know that I mentioned it already, but there's kind of 2 types of patterns that I really like. There's the ones that will just keep running pre-market all the way to the open. And then there's ones that will look weak in pre-market, and I'll be able to get like a super nice long scalp out of it off the open. And then like that's pretty much it. And this one was one where I honestly thought that it was a little bit too overextended and it needed to pull back. But then again, I was like, man, every short seller is probably thinking this too. So maybe there is an opportunity for a long on it. Because, I mean, that day, I was also out partying pretty late that night too. So I was like, listen, I don't want to force any trades. Like, I should be patient. And I remember that 320 level the first time. But that kind of area where it just couldn't break down. And then I was like, no, I'm going to be patient. I don't want to have a big loss or anything like that. I just want to be patient on it. And then it kind of popped back up. And then I was like, I don't really know. And then at 320, there was so much selling into that kind of like 320 area where it was just like trying to break down, trying to break down, trying to break down, couldn't, trying to break down, trying to break down, couldn't. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to take some here. And then, I probably should have. I was just like, no, I'm just going to be patient on it because I know that every short seller's underwater. And then when I saw that kind of consolidation happen, I'm like, well, if anyone woke up late, which I mean, I did on that day, and I know a couple other people did, and if they're anticipating a breakdown, they're going to be short in that consolidation. So I'm like, no, I'll just hold it. And if it dumps, like I'll just sell into the dump. Like it doesn't really matter that much. then it kind of came up, and yeah, I was pretty much done with it after that pop. And these ones are also trades that I'll look for. This trade has a higher float, so kind of the odds of a reclaim or zombie for me, I know that like it's kind of less of an odd because it's a bigger float and it's harder to manipulate, and you can't buy the float with like, you know, a couple $1,000,000. So you do need to kind of be aware of that, I guess. And this one, I was honestly looking for it to reclaim, and then it just didn't and kept dying. So I was like, no, I guess it's done.
Right. And I get that same way. When I always judge a float, I'm like, when it comes to a float, it's, can a float sustain being, you know, up 60% and hold it, right? Like,
Exactly.
you know, can that much, because it takes a lot of capital, you know, that's a lot of capital to be up 60%, right? Like, can it sustain it? You know, like, will that review up reclaim, like, will that just get sold into, right? Like,
Oh yeah, and I think Steven's question here is perfect, where he's like, how do you know how many times the stock has left to run? I keep thinking after a few times where it dips, it's due for a crack. I've been seeing a few lately, so how many times? I mean, for this one, it was like, I mean, this is like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes of just trying to break down, and it just couldn't, you know? It was trying to break down hard, and that's the ones where, you know, like, you've been patient, and you've kind of been sitting there and saying like, okay, I'm just going to be patient. And if it fades on something like this, you know, I'm not necessarily going to be mad. Like my risk was pretty minimal. I was just risking like maybe like 310 on it. And I was just saying like, if it keeps breaking down, like, okay, like I'm happy with the trade, but I knew that they were soaking that kind of level. And I was like, honestly, my mindset to that was like, there's no way that this is actually going to happen and keep running. Like, I don't believe it. But when they kept soaking and it just couldn't keep breaking down, I was like, nah, okay, I understand what they're kind of doing. And it just kind of kept going up from there.
yeah. And the true answer is you don't ever know. You can
No one ever knows. Yeah, you're right.
only ever guess. But yeah, and you could just look at the chart too. Like, you know, if it's making higher lows and like trying to break down and not going, right? Like if it's, you can kind of just look at the direction of the chart and know like,
Yeah.
if it's making lower highs and lower lows, it probably doesn't have any more in, you know, or it would be holding a higher bid. And it's really that simple. You know, like if this Harry got in over here, if it had tanked down to like 310, he wouldn't have even gotten in.
Yeah.
You know, and then it would have made a lower high, and he's just watching at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I honestly love that. This is savage. Okay, how I evaluate stocks on the day. So there's two kind of main patterns that I'm really looking for. I'm paying attention to the overextended ones, but I'm okay. My main thesis on the overextended ones is like, how comfortable are short sellers when the stock opens up? And what I have noticed is that usually kind of the low floats, like people are afraid to short right when that stock opens up. They don't know the direction. They don't know where it's going to go. But when they see kind of a big crack, they're like, oh, well, I know it's done. I feel a lot more comfortable. I'm ready to get in. Let's go. And they're like, nah, it doesn't matter if I short a pop or it doesn't matter if I short or whatever. They're like, it's done anyway. So when I see a lot of people get in with a bad average, or I see kind of a consolidation zone underneath that and it's just still not breaking down, those are kind of things that I'm starting to look for on the overextended low floats around 9:45 to like 10:30 time, where it's starting to reclaim. Like I remember on XRF, me and Aloha were like, man, like this shit is pretty strong. I remember that day. And I actually walked away because I'm like, I don't want to take a FOMO trade. I kind of understand what's going on here, but, you know, I don't. And then when I saw Aloha got it later, I was like, yes, yes. I was literally cheering him on, like sending him like hearts and stuff because I'm like, thank you. I'm like, thank you. Please, at least someone saw this too. And because we were like, listen, if this reclaims 4, like this is obviously pretty strong, you know? Yeah. And it was on that day where, you know, same type of fade, same type of action. And yeah, like I those are kind of stuff I like. when they're kind of looking like basically they're going to make them look weak because they feel that short sellers can get in after it's kind of faded. And yeah, I think like those traps are probably like the best ones for me. The other day one stocks are going to be just scalps. And that's where I think the short sellers in here can also benefit because there's been a lot of times where I've seen Alex like kind of draw his line and he's like, yeah, I'd like to short like this stock into a pop here. And it's like, oh, well, I'm watching that stock too. So I can kind of use that line as kind of like a sell area and kind of like think about it, you know? And you know, I think if you're going to short, like shorting the pops and shorting like the strength into the lines and into the resistance levels is like, I think that's like definitely essential because like for a lot of these plays, I'm just looking to see if the weakness is kind of, you know, not as weak as everyone thinks it is, you know?
Right, exactly. And like that's actually how I started the long.
Yeah.
That's like, I was just like, wait a minute, this one's not done.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And it kind of leads right into here, like looking for the trap, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm always looking for the traps. I'm always trying to be I'm trying to be cognizant all the time of, okay, if I'm a short seller, what am I thinking right now? But also if I'm a long trader, what am I thinking right now? Because I've seen a hell of a lot of stocks break down and it's like, nah, this is done. Like there's probably no way that this stock can come back from it. Sometimes is it a Harry Potter themed webinar? Sometimes, you know, like all the longs are bagged and all the longs are in one zone, and there's no way because there's just too much supply up there, and every pop is being sold. But yeah, basically for the traps, I'm looking for kind of a soak in one area. I'm looking for kind of like a little bit of consolidation in one area. You know, it's fading, but it still has volume. It's not completely dead. You know, the tape is still going at a, you know, decent rate. It's not just completely like no volume at all. And I want short sellers to feel a little bit too comfortable. I don't know if anyone remembers RKDA. I know that did scar a lot of people. I love those types of plays because those types of plays for me are just, you know, ones where they have the soak and they're just, you know, like, I mean, RKDA should have died. That's a stock that should have, you know, just died. But no, it came back to life. Every time, you know, it dipped down, it kind of got bid back up and bid back up. And then it led to that massive squeeze because you had all the short sellers short in that one zone. And that's kind of what led to that massive pop, I think. And plus it's a low float, you know? So it's just that combined with that is, you know, pretty insane.
Yeah. And like, yeah. And like this one, the faded, but still has volume. That's like that's like top 2, top 3 things I like to see.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's when it's done, quote unquote, done, faded, and it starts to grind up, but it's starting to grind up, you know, choppy like, but it's
like an OSN type of move, like an OSN type of move on that day one. I remember that one. Yeah.
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 But yeah, definitely good trap hunting. Anyway, so today, like, or this week, we had like it was kind of a fiery week, right? We had SVRA, Saba, and FCL just really obliterate the market, like to the upside. And I think the only ones that really faded were really the sheer pump and dump. So it was a pretty bullish market.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was really good, and I'm hoping I'm hoping and think that we're going to see more of that. You know, with the January effect, markets at all-time highs. So I think everything's pointing in that direction.
I'm hoping.
Dude, me too. One thing we haven't talked about, but probably will, are the stocks that have massive volume on the day that are like true runners. Those are, like Joe said, like those are good washout longs all day.
Oh yeah, yeah, completely.
Scalp those all day. Every time it just tanks, you know it's not it. Like.
Yeah, I know. I love those are great. Like those are amazing. Like
hoping we get one of those.
Oh yeah, I know. I'd love like another like, you know, BPTH type run or like something like, you know, all those like old stocks. Like I kind of miss the ones that used to run all day, you know?
Yes.
Now I find the market has more gravitated towards they'll take a low float and they'll wash it out and they'll trap it, and then later you get kind of like the reclaim. There hasn't been one for a while that's kind of ran all day. I guess CEI, that one did. There's been a couple that have ran all day, but like a true runner to me is like right out of the open from 9:30 all the way till market close. That thing is ripping,
Right. Yep. And if it's a small cap, they normally have some tanks like one at like.
Oh, they do, yeah.
You have a tank, but then it'll come back and rip up 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, keep going, then tank again, then find another bid and just keep going. Those are the ones I'm looking for.
Exactly.
But yeah, like you can see, we're pretty split here. Large caps have just been all bullish. Like if any large cap traders are in here, I mean, if you're shorting, I mean, you've had a tough week. Like it's been just bullish. Yeah, dude, Joe's like, buy the effing dip, bro. Yeah. Everything's pretty much strong. One thing I really love about this market is we're getting some day 2 and day 3 plays. Probably short sellers don't like it that much. But like this is like a swing longer stream. Like I bet Tay's making a lot of money this is kind of her market, I feel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I felt like we had a slight slowdown today because we didn't really have a strong runner. Like I felt like, I guess SES kind of proved, I made this before SES spiked end of day. But, I feel like I was really disappointed in RCON. I really wanted that to go, but there was just nothing there. But yeah, other than that, pretty bull market. And I think we might get a slight slowdown because like SBRA, SAVA, and FCL, that was pretty like a lot of action all at once. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a little cool down after SES. And then another round of fire like in a week or something. That's just my guess.
Yeah, exactly.
They just like I feel like people might get a little too overzealous about buy everything, right? But like today we kind of got a little like hey, not everything goes up. Like not everything's gonna be a runner. Like not everything
exactly.
CEL.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily a fan of like all the price action today. Like I didn't really like it. So I try and discipline myself as best I can to not try and force things, like to really not try and force things. Because every time I force something, I always lose. And when I even get the feeling that I'm about to force, I know that I'm going to lose on the trade. Like I've kind of trained myself where I'm like, okay, what you're seeing here is like not real. It's just kind of your brain playing a trick on you. Like just shut up and get a glass of water and go upstairs. Cause like, that's kind of how I have kind of like forced myself to just like shut down. Like I'm just like, no, like, like you know what's going to happen,
Right. I feel you, dude. Yeah. So I think we're kind of right here. I think the crazy market just kind of we're tapering down from we're going to get into a little bit of slow market. And then I think we're going to hop right back over soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For those who this is their first webinar, we have some new people in here. The way the market tends to go, and this is not the gospel, but there tends to be a super bullish market followed by a super bearish market followed by a pretty dead market, right? And the reasoning is everyone gets used to buying everything going up, then everybody gets stuffed and dumped on, and then everyone gets used to losing money from chasing, then everyone switches to shorting, everything then tanks. And then once everything's dying, no longs want to even buy anything, and then we enter dead market time. Then people get restless about nothing moving, and then they just buy the next thing that moves. We hop over to the longs market. So that's for new members. That's why I have this here on every webinar. Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about is there's kind of two kinds of longs in my opinion. Like there's two kinds of longers. So there's like the longs that you buy into weakness, and these are your washout longs. And with washout longs, I love to see SSR. Like I feel like it's like back in OTC land where level 2 actually has some value. Like when an SSR is on a stock and it's tanking, it's literally like I can feel where the bottom's gonna be. So those are my favorite. Then you got those overextended downside moves. I think Harry was kind of talking about this one where it's kind of just faded off, but it still has volume and everyone thinks it's done and it looks too good to be true. And it just kind of turns around. So you have those kind of weakness longs. And then you have first bounces, which is kind of a weakness long because normally on a first bounce, like it spiked up and you're trying to buy into the weakness as it's coming off of its high. So I'm counting that as basically red. These are all red candle longs where you're buying into red candles.
Yeah.
And scalps. And normally you'll find these kind of trades on like the trades that Harry and I were just talking about, right? Like you have the 60 million share per day low float runners that just like are going all day, and you're just scalping, buying the washout short, buying the dips, selling the rips, even if it's for like 10 cents, 15 cents at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
And like those can be great money days. The other kind of longs, so that's more, actually I think Harry's more dominant on that side. Sorry?
No, keep going. Keep going.
I was gonna say, I'm more on the other side. I love, like, my claim to fame on longs, like Harry's more of a true longer than me. I love reclaims. That's what I like to go for. I like buying it once the bottom's in, and I like to buy when I feel like I like to buy when I feel shorts are being really stubborn. Meaning like they should have gotten out, but they're not. And like they're adding like this one here, SVRA, where it spikes up and like shorts should have gotten out here. But they might be adding into this, right? And when I kind of see that happen where it looks like shorts are adding into their position and it's starting to soak, that's when I like to take advantage of the reclaims. But, also breakouts, buying over pre-market highs in the morning, or like buying that 5 break on Harry's Neuro trade, something like that, longing into strength. Buying channel breaks, high day breaks. These are like longs that are more into the strength. Anything you want to add to that, Harry?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I absolutely love that chart. I can see the psychology in it, like where, like, I mean, I think a lot of people were comfortable on this one thinking like, well, it's pretty much dead. I might as well just like, cover at the end of the day and walk away, like it looks like it's dead. It looks like there's nothing left. And then when it kind of climbs back up there and kind of traps, that's like, I love that. Like just, I think that's a good place to long. It's hard on these ones because like I can't see what it was doing or the price action at all on it. So I have no clue like kind of what was going on with like the tape and stuff. But like you can tell like damn, like, oh, this is a lovely one. I love it.
Yeah, this was a good fun retake. And then it's stuffed hard. But
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's stuffed hard. Anyway. But yeah, and so then you have kind of another 2 kinds of longs, like a separate 2 kind of longs. And this is the RKDA trade that
I made the same trade.
What?
I made this same trade.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Bro, this is the one where I was going to be like, yeah, do you want me to post this one. Oh my God. I actually love this one. Wow.
This was one of my favorite trades of 2019.
Yeah. Joe does have this on recording.
Except he got squeezed. Sorry. I don't mean to laugh at that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe. Yeah, see, I knew we were gonna have a fun time talking to a whole bunch of shorters about longs. Anyway, so like the other 2 kinds of longs, like you're gonna find that like if you're gonna be a longer, you're gonna find yourself settling into one of 2 things. Like you're either gonna be like a probability based longer, like where you're trying to go for something that like a setup you can rely on often. It's like oftentimes they're quick buck trades, they're scalps, they're washouts, they're first bounces. These are high probability setups that you can just like, they're normally not very big, but they're just routine, right? And the other kind of trade that you can kind of go for is like a risk to reward based trade. And these are more like my reclaims. I typically go like reclaims often stuff, right? Like reclaims will stuff very often. And so like, I just accept that. Because I know like when they work like this, like it's gonna pay for like 5 times that it doesn't work. And so like these are trades that you have to accept that they're not gonna work every time, right? And you have to be okay with sustaining like a few losses in a row, but knowing that your trade has like big move potential, right?
Exactly.
And it comes down to timing, like good risk opportunities. And that's gonna be something I focus on in a little bit. But with these kind of longs, it's very important to add to winners and keep tight losers, because you don't want to get stuffed on big size. And when you get a big move, like you want to be in big, like ideally. So Oh my God, you did have the exact same trade, dude.
I
Like
know.
that is to the T. Like we both bought it first and lost, and then got it on the way back.
Yeah. I was like, no, I'm too early. And I think a lot of people were. Um,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. Man, that's so funny, dude. Same wavelength. Y'all bought my covers. Yeah. And anyway, so this is what I want to get into. Like as far as when it comes from for my trading, one thing though, if I've learned one thing about my longs in 2019, it's this. It's that good risk to reward entries, they seem to work the best because that's when the volume tends to come in. Right. And like you can show me any chart that spikes up and I'll find you a really good risk reward opportunity. Right. Like NETE. The volume comes in when there's like, see, you notice that it never goes on the initial pot to VWAP. And I think that's just like almost like just like culture these days. Like people expect VWAP to like short up VWAP so much that the first one never is going to work, and shorts don't want to cover into the first VWAP push. So like if you're a short seller, I'm like as a short seller, I know I'm not covering the first VWAP pop. I'm gonna let it pop the VWAP. I'm gonna let it make a higher low, and if it breaks then the high, I'm cutting. And I feel like that's what every short seller does nowadays. And like this is kind of like where you cover, right? This is where you cover here, right? And so this is and longs know that. So longs all jump in here because every long can buy 450, risking 435 in this situation, right?
Yeah.
Every long can do it.
I agree. Yeah, and this one also, like the psychology in this chart is like for every short seller that shorted, from that like 10 o'clock range to that 11 o'clock range is trapped now.
About this chart.
And yeah, boom,
Yeah.
up he goes.
Yeah, and so this is another one. Like this is not today SES. This is another SES. Like I was trying to get the washout here, and I had some slippage here. I definitely had some slippage here on this long.
Yeah.
Forget that long. This is where it's like I let it push VWAP initially, but then the second time we come back is when all the volume comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And like this is a quick first bouncer, but like this, when the volume comes in, it's a second time. It's because people buying, like the reason why this doesn't go is because there's not a whole lot of buyers, because like if you're a long, you don't buy this first push.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, like Harry doesn't buy it, I won't buy it because we don't know if it's gonna stuff. It's probably gonna reject. But if that reject holds a second time, that's when everybody jumps in because you can now buy this risking the low that's been set.
Exactly. Yeah, and also I love the consolidation under VWAP because you know that every short seller is using it as risk. And then when it goes up and starts holding again, like it got stuffed there, but it starts holding again, then you know that they're in trouble because that's not the move that should have happened in that scenario, in my opinion.
For them, they're like, it needs to tank. Like it needs to tank from right here. They can shorts have a limited patience. They know they can hold it through one push through VWAP, but if it comes back again, they're done.
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of like that with VWAP bounces too, where usually kind of the first VWAP bounce, like usually it'll have some type of move off VWAP, but the second time, like there's not going to be a VWAP bounce. I don't play that pattern necessarily, but I do. That's something that I do see where every time it kind of hits VWAP, there's a little bit of a, if it's like kind of coming down, but I don't know. That's just something that I've kind of seen. Like even in this chart, like if you look like right after 9:30, like there was a bit of a VWAP bounce there.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. And then it comes up, but the second time, not going to work.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it's kind of a reflection on like first time stuff works, second time it doesn't. Like
exactly.
It's just a little extension off that. Here's another one. Like again, we'll come in. The volume comes the second time, and this is when I bought it, right? Like I bought this one here the second time, and then like again, like it pushes through dips. The second time we break over this high, it's always over. Like if you're going to be a strength buyer, it's like to find if you're going to be a strength buyer, finding a high that you can buy with a good risk reward under. That's what longs are looking for. Like no long wants to buy high with shitty risk. But like the ones, like all the volume will come in if there's a good solid risk to base it off of. Longs will feel more comfortable and they'll jump in. It's over a high when like on the second time once there's that established risk.
Yeah, I agree. And if you're a short seller here, like, I mean, FTFT, you're pretty nervous at the open. You don't really want to short it at the open. Then you see that death candle slam and you're like, oh my God, I just missed the move. Like, I wish I had have taken that short. So then you're kind of shorting into the next pop. And then it's just like, it kind of creates like these terrible traps where like your psychology is like you short the next pop and then it goes down a little bit and you're like, oh my God, I'm safe. And then it comes back up and then you get squeezed and then you're like, well, you know, that kind of got stuffed and then it comes back down. It just keeps trapping. Like that's just a headache ticker for shorts.
Yeah. And look, and so this is kind of like, this is a trap that I really like to see. So like you and I are short sellers too. Like imagine like you're short, like you don't know what, like you're kind of trying to short on view up, or maybe you have like 225 or a lower high short and it's stuffed hard and you miss and then you chase down here. That was the reason why I started in here.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the psychology behind, oh no, I missed it. I have to check. Because I know, like you look at it like, oh my God, every short's chasing here.
I know, because everyone's like, oh, it's going to fade all day anyway. You know, there's just so many things. Yeah. And this has turned into like a psychology webinar.
No, it is. It's all of this is psychology.
Exactly.
What was another one?
Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, this one, I fucked up on this one. I fucked up because I got too excited. That's all that is. I got too excited, but yeah, I actually nailed this one later on in the day. Mm-hmm. But what I wanted to show, it's like this first push up the VWAP, no, right? But it holds a higher low. Yeah. This is where the volume comes in.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like, I didn't buy it because like this is like just I just like I felt like I messed up already. Like I was just
I agree.
I just messed up already. And this is in April. This is kind of when I was just kind of getting my feet on it too.
Oh, I might have traded this stock. Let me look.
I know I got this one later. Yeah, 423. Let
me see.
I just messed this one up.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it sucks, but like this is such a beautiful ticker.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if I traded it or not.
But yeah, because it's just like everybody can buy here, risking here. It's comfortable, right? So
exactly.
Demand comes in. Like, you know, like a lot of people don't want longs. Like I'm telling you, like I don't buy here, like at all. Like Harry doesn't. I don't. Like this is where like you get stuck. But if the stuff holds, like now I'll buy, right?
Yeah, I agree. No, I didn't get that one. I didn't even see it, I don't think. But no, that's a beautiful one.
This is just like, I mean, I'm just going over these over again, but it's like, you know, it's like we come up here, hold, and like I was ready for this one. This one I was excited about. And like we don't break, so I sell a little bit, but then I think we're going to go, you know, I buy here because I think, oh, here we are, but then I take it off. But then we hold you off again, I buy it again. I should have added right here. This should have been an ad, but I had too much up and down over here psychologically to add over here. But the point is like this is where like the smart longs come in, is right when it's breaking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is just another one of those kind of traps between like 725, 750. Smart short sellers are in around $8, but like I mean for the most part it's like 750, 725, $7. The chasers are in at $7. The like decent short sellers are in at like 725, 750. The really good ones are in at like $8, you know, 775. And it's like once it breaks there, like it, you know, it just
even the good ones.
Yeah, I know. Even the good ones are underwater.
And that's the best. That's what's pretty about this one is every single short has a not that great average.
Yeah, you're right.
That's one thing I like to see too, is like when I think about who has the best average. Well, clearly there's not a whole lot of them because it wasn't up here very long. And they're kind of nervous up here. Like they're getting close to break even and they're not. So it starts grinding more and now everyone's unhappy. Like,
yeah. No, I agree.
I think I'm running out of these. Yeah. So anyway, I just want to.
If we want to go back, I have some charts in mind where.
Yeah.
No, not back to yours. But if we have time at the end, I have some charts in mind too.
Yeah, start posting them.
Yeah, but here, let me look for some. I remember my biggest ones, MLNT. I remember That one was savage as hell.
Yeah, post them in here.
Here, let me look. Yeah, I have a shit ton. We could go all night.
Yes.
MLNT, this one, these are similar to RKDA, where people were comfortable and everyone was stuck from a bad average. I just recognize this one.
Oh yeah, dude, that one was good. I might have got this one too.
I think you did.
I think I did too. I couldn't find it.
And then, yeah, SES. This is the exact same thing as SES. I recognize the exact same pattern.
Yeah. This is like a mini RKDA too.
Yeah, they all do the same type of thing. This is the type of things that I like if we can get them. Same thing. I remember this trade. I remember this trade very well.
This is SES.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think you got this one for sure. I remember.
And then I'm trying to think about another one. Oh yeah, let me look for Dare. I remember Dare. That was like one of my first ever biggest ones. I remember. No, I can't find it. Anyway, but yeah, no, those type of traps, they're all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just if they die early and they're kind of consolidating, those ones are the ones that I like. But if they really start to fade and they're not and they're not kind of like there's a difference between like if they just dump out of the gate and hold and like a gradual slow kind of fade, you know what I mean? Or you get a lot of consolidation and all the longs get kind of trapped and you need to get rid of all those longs before we can have another move up and we need to trap short sellers. Right. Yeah, those patterns are all the same. I remember them clearly because they all do kind of the same thing.
So here is a good question for this part. What do you look for in pre-market to get you to buy these?
Basically this one, I was like, listen, low float. I just got it on a dip there and I was just risking the low. I remember that one. That one was just another one where I'm just looking for dips, like in pre-market. Like I really want dips. I don't want to be in its strength, and also I want to see some selling and the stock not be able to break down. And I mean, at that time, like that's just a small little ad there. I just want to kind of get a feel for the stock, and I want to get in. Then the second time that it kind of dipped down, I noticed the same type of pattern that it did the first time, and then after that, I'm just out on all the pops. And the SES tape is recorded. I know Bear has this tape on YouTube that people can watch. He has his own like YouTube channel or whatever that he uploaded some on. And this one was more of like after the first pop, I think a lot of people thought it was done. But then when it started grinding up to like the 15s and the 14s and the whatever, I noticed that this stock isn't breaking down. This is starting to grind up. And I know a lot of people, I mean, the good short sellers, like I kind of rate it like the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good short sellers are in at like 3.6, 3.4. The bad short sellers are in at like, 310, 3 whatever, shorting the weakness, anticipating a breakdown. And like, the decent ones are somewhere in the middle. And I figured that a lot of people were starting to get short at that level. And everyone thought that it was just done. I remember watching the price action thinking like, no, you can't die on me. And then when it started coming up to the 14s and 15s and starting to hold there, I was like, yeah, I'm taking some. And then I was just out into the pops and into the kind of resistance areas.
Yeah, and I like that approach too. It's like, and I kind of have something similar. I'm just like, yeah, like who's the best short? Yeah, it's like who's the best short, who's the shittiest short? And like, can the shittiest short make the decent shorts uncomfortable, which will inevitably, and then when the decent shorts get uncomfortable, can they make the best shorts uncomfortable, right? It's like, exactly. It's like the shittiest shorts make it shitty for the decent shorts, which then makes, the decent shorts cover, which makes it shitty for the best shorts. It's like,
exactly.
That's the way I think about it. It's like, it's like, because it doesn't matter if you're a good short or not. If you have a whole bunch of shitty shorts in with you, you better have covered. Like,
exactly.
And I think like this chart would not have been the same if it didn't pop first.
I agree.
The pop and drop is essential. Like, because now if it holds after a pop and drop, you're like, you're like, here we go.
Yeah, whoever is like soaking there or buying there also has all those longs, just selling into his buy order.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's about it. What do I look for pre-market? Yeah, just I want to see some dips. You don't need to be the first one in pre-market. I think that's what you don't need to be the first person long. You don't need to be every time that I try and be the first person, I always lose. If I had tried to long SES early, on like like super early at like 7 o'clock, I would have lost. But when I saw that, it was kind of I knew that also it was a low flow. Like that also helps, you know. And that was just something that I was looking for. Where I was like, okay, is this gonna dip or is this gonna fade? And it's 7:30 market time in the morning. I know a lot of people aren't awake yet. By the time this move happens, and most of the retail's up, they're up around 9:30, and then shorts get the borrow. So also if you're long, you're looking to I think longs think that if it's a low float, you need to go long the 9:30 candle. That's the time to go long, and it's actually not. I like to kind of see what the stock's going to do. I rarely long a 9:30 candle, almost never. And I just want to see what's going to happen. And this one, I was patient on this one. How many minutes go by where I'm just watching the stock, seeing what it's going to do, how's it going to play out? This could have faded to 2.6. I just want to, how do I know that the good shorts have not already covered? I really don't. I'm just assuming that everyone in at 3.6 is underwater. Every single short is underwater, whether you're good, bad, or ugly, And anyway, so yeah, I'm just kind of being patient and just seeing what the stock. I'm trying to collect also little bits of information all the time. I'm wondering, okay, what's the psychology here? Because you could see the same type of action on a stock that's fading, and all the longs are bagged, and try and think the same thing. So it's I'm trying to think about the psychology. I'm watching the price action. I'm trying to collect as much information as I can about the stock. And that's what I think you do that too, Austin, where we just try and collect as much information as we can. So by the time comes to start taking a trade, we're already ready and we're already prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to do is collect information. Also, you have to remember that the majority of these are low float stocks. They're not higher float stocks. If you're a short seller, you got to be careful on those low float stocks because they're always going to be out to get you.
Yeah. I don't think I have any buys on anything more than 10 million. I mean, I'm sure I do. SVRA maybe.
But I think the biggest one I longed was something like CAR or something like that. CUR. And that float, what was that?
That sounds CUR sounds like a big one.
CUR, is it gone now? Let me look. I couldn't find it on FinViz. CUR. Is it gone?
I don't think so.
CURLF now?
Oh yeah, I don't see it. What? No.
Don't die, bro. No.
I hate 3-letter tickers anyway. F it.
Oh my God, rip. Oh, they changed tickers. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Steven, no, for shorts, I do like to. I do most of my trades in general are sub 10. Just in general, yeah. But I will short. I'll short sub 10 over sub 10 too. I don't like to short sub 1 though. That's just asking for trouble.
No, there are times where it is okay to short low float stocks. I just wouldn't recommend any of them.
Yeah. So I only got a couple more here. So for those who are listening to this stuff, right, and you're like, I want to. This sounds like fun. These guys are having fun. I want to learn how to start longing, right? So if you're a short seller, please don't just long because you're losing short, or just because you're losing short, or you just for the fun of it you want to learn it. You need to see it first. You need to see it like Harry and I see it before you start trading. Just because we talk about it, you can if you don't hear us talking about it and and it doesn't sound like validation. It sounds like, oh, hey, look at that. I'm going to write it down. You know, if it's in the write it down stage, you're not ready to start trying it, right? If it's like, if what we're saying sounds like validation, you might be ready to try, right? You need to have seen these patterns yourself first. Like,
yeah. And also you could just get better covers if you're short and you notice that, yeah, okay, maybe I did make the wrong decision and I can get out with a 10, 20 cent a share loss instead of $1 a share loss. You know, like you can also use this to kind of mitigate your risk if you are a short seller.
right.
I mean, your covers will help me either way, but I'd rather see the MIC people, you know, cover with a minimal loss, you know, because so you can also use this. Like if you feel like there's no harm, you know, everyone else is short in these areas too. So it's like you just beat the crowd by understanding that, you know, you got out earlier than everyone else and avoided a massive loss. So that's also something that you can use this for too, I think.
Dude, there was a quote many years ago on Twitter. It was my favorite quote of the time, and it was a poll. I think Steve Burns asked it. He said,
Yeah.
like, what's the most underrated skill, or like the most underrated skill in a trader? And all of the top traders at the time responded and said, knowing how to beat the crowd out.
Yeah.
It's like the most underrated skill is knowing how to get out, and like knowing how to long helps you do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like not every ticker is a short, not every ticker is a long. But it's just kind of like it's just like you can recognize things where you're like, okay, you know, okay, maybe this isn't really a short today, maybe it is a long. You know, I don't like to be too over biased on any stock. I'm okay. Like I don't hate short sellers, you know. I want to know what they're thinking and what their thought process is on the trade. And if I was wrong, how can I be better? You know, it's just I just hate seeing people lose on some of the stuff like this because I mean, like it kind of makes I feel bad kind of because it's like, you know, anything I can do to help, especially for traps. You know, if you guys can see a trap and you're short, like it just like can help you manage your risk so much. I think.
Right. And yet, like a lot of short sellers, they're just too afraid to pull the trigger long. And I think that's, and I used to be this way. It's because you're afraid that like every single time that you get in, it's gonna tank. Like you have that feeling like, oh, I'm gonna get in, it's gonna fucking tank. I'm gonna get in, it's gonna tank. And that's because you just like that's how you make money, right? It's like every time you're used to getting paid on tanks. So you're just afraid that every time you're in the position, dude, it's gonna tank on me because I'm long. It isn't, guys. Like that's just fear. You're just conditioned to think that because that's all you trade, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When you start longing, you're gonna start saying, God, every time like now when you start shorting, you're gonna make crap. It's gonna rip. Like you're gonna have the opposite if you're long enough. So that's just fear. That's just a side of fear. But it starts from knowing when to stay away. You know, if you're a short seller and you know, or Alex is saying, Joe's saying, Harry's saying, like whatever. Like stay like Tosh is like back off, don't short this. Those are the stocks maybe you might want to typically start with experimenting on long.
Yeah.
And no, it's easier to buy dips than to buy strength.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, Tosh is a savage. He knows exactly like the minute that longs are underwater, he's like the reverse of me. He's like the exact reverse of me, where he the minute longs are underwater, like he's just in there, like he's like a sniper. He's like, like Tosh is like he knows how to do it. You know, me and Tosh are like complete opposite traders.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, and Tosh is really good. He just won't touch anything. He just won't touch anything till it just has a pull. And once it has a depth pull, it's like now I'm going to short it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And anyway, so if you're just starting longing. Again, same thing. Make sure there's a pattern you see before you start trading. And if you do see one, make sure you understand the risk of your entries because longs have what's I call dump risk, right? And dump risk is like, I mean, every longer knows the dump risk, right? It's a time or place in the chart where there's that elevated risk of the stock literally just tanking really hard. And it's always going to be like slightly above VWAP, slightly above high a day or pre-market highs at the open, right? Or at reversal time when it's just above like morning support. all of these stalls right above these supports is when you have dump risk, right? Like whenever I recognize that I'm in a place, like I always ask myself, like, where is their dump risk? When I get to where there's dump risk, I like to downsize or cut the position or have been paid myself if I'm holding a piece, right? Whenever you're in dump risk, like always be aware when there's dump risk. And if you don't know, you soon will.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like there was no truer statement ever. If you don't know where the dump risk is, dump risk will find you. But
Yeah,
that's where they are.
I honestly love that.
Yeah. First bounces are the easiest long to start because, I mean, they're honestly the easiest to see. I think it's the easiest to understand. Like all the shorts are looking for an exit and all the longs are looking for a dip. And you have to figure out if you're a weakness buyer like Harry or a strength buyer like me. You know what I mean? Like we both do a little bit of both, but I feel like Harry's more of a strength, more of a weakness buyer, and I'm more of a strength buyer.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just preference. We both do both, but you have to kind of figure out where you're stronger. And I'm gonna guess most people are stronger at weakness buying. That's just my guess. But it's because just shorter people going from short to long are used to covering, so they're like, hey, I want to buy where I cover.
Yeah, that's actually smart.
Yeah, and I think this is my last time. Yeah. So like the similarities in longs and shorts. Longs and shorts are both timing based, right? You can't escape that. Like, like if you try to dip buy a stock and ignore the timing, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna eat shit. And if you try to short a parabolic and say I'm gonna outlast the move, you're gonna eat shit. Both trades are timing based and you can't get around that, right? They both require you to take advantage of emotion. You're just taking advantage of the other side. Right, so it really helps to know the opposite side of the trade before starting the side of the trade that you're in, right? Neither of them are easy. Patience is required on both. You have to use risk management, and winners can be added to both. The difference is, and these are these are my biggest differences I see. Stocks are going to go up so much more powerfully than they come down. And this is because shorts are always going to be more fearful than longs. Longs are always going to be more stubborn than shorts. This is why you see when stocks go down, they fade and trickle. They fade and trickle because every long is hoping that it comes back, right? Why? Because the worst it can go is to zero. But for a short seller, they know that if they're short at 2, I mean, if they don't cover, they could end up covering at 5. Right, or 6 or 7. It's like they know that there's no limited risk. So shorts have their finger on the button much more than longs do, because longs can always say, oh, it'll just hold the next support, right? There's always another support. Whereas resistance, I mean, it can just keep going, right? Yep. Longing, you have to be a better stock picker when it comes to longing. Whereas shorting is more about timing, especially in the small cap land. They all come down. Like eventually they all come down. So for a shorter, you really have to be a good timer. But the thing is, not every long is going to go up. So you got to be a good stock picker. You got to be good at, and it starts with finding the ones that you want to stay away from shorting. Like if you can pick those ones out, like it comes down to picking, right? It's much more of a picking game. Like you wait, like Harry said at the open, you're just waiting. Like maybe this is going to be a good stock to pick. Maybe it's not, but like wait for it to set up and see if it's a good one or not before you start. Like you don't have to be first. With longing, you have to look into the unknown, and this helps to have experience because, like with longing, you don't, with shorting, you get the whole left side of the chart, and you're trying to trade the right side. For longing, you kind of got to guess, bro. Like it's much more of a, well, how high can this go? What is the potential? Like for a short, the potential is the support down here at low a day or morning low. Right? Yeah. For a long, it's like, okay, like, can this go to 5? Can it fill the gap? Where can it go? Like, what's the float? It's much more of an unknown as far as reward side. And the opportunities to catch longs are so much faster and more time sensitive than shorts. Like, sometimes to get a long, like, your window of opportunity is like this. Like sometimes, I mean, they'll just, like I said, they're powerful up. Like, I mean, it'll be at like SCS. It'll be at like 425 or I don't know, or 925, and then be at like 950, 10 in like 2 minutes. Like your opportunity is, your window of opportunity is tight. Much more tighter than longs. Like a short, you can wait for it to death candle and then short the pot. Like where a long, it's a lot harder to wait for the rip and buy that dip. There might not be a dip. Like, anyway, those are the biggest differences I see. Anything else you?
No, yeah, no, I think that's yeah, just insanely accurate. Like that's like everything that like you can't really say much more. I think the stock picking, yeah, that's 100% true because like you just need to just pick your spots and just be patient. You have to be so patient. I think that's like one of the things that I learned. And yeah, am I using fantasy orders for my entries? Not unless it's first bounce. I'm not
Yeah,
using fan.
that's the only one I really put a fantasy order.
Yeah, that's about it for me.
All right, yeah. So that's the end of the webinar. So Q&A is now open. Like, if you guys want to rush us with questions, or if not, we can just wrap and talk more about longs. What was your favorite part? Did you guys learn anything? Like what? What's up, guys? Thanks for coming on, Harry.
No problem. No, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, dude. I've been waiting to do this one for so long. Like, talk about like all the traps on the long trap or the short traps.
How do I know good shorts have already covered? Picture the perfect short on the stock, and then, well, I mean, you can't really predict where good shorts have covered. I mean, it's really like, everyone's screwed once the stock is over high a day on the day.
It's like a pre-market high too. Like, because a lot of shorts are in from pre-market. So it's like the second, figure out the best short on the chart. Where are they unhappy?
Mm-hmm. Are you first bounce specifically just notches or also key? I mean, for that type of pattern on the first bounce, you kind of recognize the notch with the line chart and then you see it. I'm at a point now where with the candlestick, I can see it because I can see like the first bounce friends. And I think like a lot of people are probably trained for that too. For exit targets, it's more into, if it's over high day, it's more I'm looking into the daily chart and I'm seeing like, it's the same thing where like Bao's talking about where he's like looking to short those type of lines. Those are type of lines for exits for me. Sounds like you depend a lot on tape and soaking. Can you elaborate more? Basically just a lot of selling, but the stock's just not breaking down. Sometimes they'll show like 100 or 1,000 or whatever, and it'll just be a lot of selling into stuff like that, where it's like, okay, it's also like, this stock should be breaking down more. Like there's been a lot of selling into these levels, kind of stuff like that for me.
Where are we? Are we at Steven?
Oh, I think we've gone past. I think I talked about exits, but it's more into like daily chart kind of resistance and support for exits.
Yeah, I always like to take some off of high a day too.
Exactly. Yeah, if sometimes it'll blow right through high a day, but yeah, like Austin's right where sometimes like a lot of people are also using that to sell too. So yeah.
Like, I mean, it's so much better to sell it high a day. If it stalls and decides to go higher, you can rebuy it if you want to. But there's a big chance of it rejecting or stuffing there. Like,
yeah, no, I completely agree. I would think good shorts with a good position would cover way before the rip. Am I wrong? Like Alex ETC nails before the squeeze. Yeah, I mean, sometimes there are, but yeah, no, Alex is like, he's a nail and bail type of trader. Like he's a good short. Like he would not. I have never seen him get caught in a squeeze like this. I don't think. Like not in a very long time. I don't think if ever. I don't. What?
New Alex doesn't.
Yeah. But I think that like it really depends on what type of short seller you are and how you kind of short sell. Because I know some people are trying to short these at the top and fade them all the way down, And so it just really depends on. I don't really focus on like good shorts or bad shorts. I focus on kind of all the shorts, but I was just trying to make a point that even the good short sellers would be underwater kind of there. Do you use level 2 to determine your entries and exits? Oh yeah, for sure. Like I try and look for how level 2 lines up with support and resistance, how level 2. I guess for me, I've just watched so many. I used to watch the tape, I think, like Well, when in the summer, I remember I used to go over it like I think like 6 hours a day sometimes, or 5 hours a day, just every single day, just watching recordings, seeing what I could get. But I'd also caution you where like it's like also with psychology, and it's also with support and resistance, and it's also with the type of traps, and it's also with like all those things. You know what I mean? Where it's just like I'm not like, oh wow, look, I see this on the tape now. This is a holy grail signal. Every time I see this thing, I make 100%. It's more so like I use things with other things. I try and combine everything, you know? I just try and combine all the available information possible to put it into a trading decision rather than say, oh, well, I'm looking for this type of thing to happen on the tape and then I'm going to be long full buying power. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I'm trying to use every single damn thing I can come up with. Yeah. Let me just keep scrolling down here. Yes, the psychology talk is great. I found watching Alex watch list. Yeah, Alex watch list is great in the morning. I love watching his watch list because sometimes there'll be a stock that I miss on like a day two where I'm like, oh crap, this stock could, be something that I like. So yeah, I always watch his watch lists in the mornings, and I think that everyone else should too. Love the first bounce friends. Thank you. I came up with that in my friggin' apartment last year, and I remember thinking, wow, like every single time, this is exactly what I see. When choosing long, do you always look at the filings? No. I'm sorry.
Dude, it's been 6 months since I've looked at a filing.
Yeah, I know. I don't pay attention to the 424B. I don't pay attention to any of that. If this stock is tanking, chances are I'm probably not going to be in it. And I'm not going to be looking for anything like that. Like, I don't even look at them anymore because I think so many people get too over biased when really just pay attention to kind of the price action on the chart and the psychology and stuff like that. But that's just me. That's personal preference. If you want to look at them and that makes you more comfortable or you have an edge somehow, then, you go right ahead. Like, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that I got kind of too over biased. And also it really is very hard as a long trader to hear that they have a shit ton of dilution and that you're about to buy something. I
just look at every chart and I'm like, this has dilution. Like every single, I expect every low float to have dilution.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the assumption. Every low float has dilution.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I understand that. If I was trying to not long stocks with dilution, I wouldn't have made a trade this year.
That's what dude. I made that saying, dude. Like, I made that saying in an earlier webinar. If I wanted to avoid all stocks with dilution, I wouldn't long anything all year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely. Maybe I fell asleep to watching one of your videos and then it just came out like now.
Dude, I made that same joke.
I prefer to long into weakness. However, it's tough to know you're going to get some kind of reclaim like CBIO. Longing into weakness, I think probably the best ones are the low floaters into weakness. If you're looking for one of those kind of fade and pop patterns, all the stocks that we've gone over today have been pretty much low floats. Like, I don't think there's been any 10, 20, 30 mil floats. Those 10, 20, 30 mil floats, though, I'm not really afraid to long them, but I'm kind of looking for trends. I guess for the 10, 20 mil, I know some people hate them, but usually those are a quick nail and bail at the open, and that's all I'm looking for. I'm not expecting a stock like that to run 200% on the day. I'm just looking for kind of a quick nail and bail. Now, that's my personal preference. If I was recommending longs to newer people, I think how I'd kind of recommend it would be to kind of try and look for traps on some of the low floats as opposed to trying to long a 10, 20, 30 mil float because they're completely different types of share structure. And if you want to get really good at one type of share structure and then move to another type, or one type of pattern and then move to another type, how many reclaims have you seen on a 30 mil stock?
They stuff.
Yeah, they usually stuff. So it's the odds are a lot less. Do you watch the tape at your line? Interested before putting in your order? Yes, usually. I almost always do. What helps you determine if a stock is accumulating for an immediate squeeze at the open? No one really knows, to be honest. I'm just looking for kind of a support level to kind of hold, and I'm looking for, uh, you know, it's just like my first trade there where it was just consolidating the whole open. So I know that anyone that got FOMO and shorted pre-market thinking that this was going to break down is immediately underwater. I know that everyone thinks that this stock is weak when it's really a friggin' low float that can just blow up. It's like pouring gasoline all over your driveway and then taking a match and lighting that gasoline on fire. Like that's kind of the similarity to it. I just understand kind of where shorts are in that type of zone. If it blows through high a day, do you not tend to? No, I'll never, ever. I almost always will never long something over high a day unless like what happened in the pre-market is very little. It really depends on the range in the chart, but like almost always, like if that stock is at high a day and it's starting to like stuff at high a day, like I'm not usually looking to long something, but something like CEI, where that stock had like it ran from like the 170s to like the 220s, 230s, and then came back to the $2 range and kind of like if it goes over high day, I'm looking for a really big pullback that holds that type of stuff and that type of trapping action. But almost never do I get it. Like the majority of my longs are not over high a day. Usually I'm in and out. I'm usually into a high day push, or I'm usually into something over high a day, and that's pretty much the trade for me.
Yeah, most of my longs are sub VWAP.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. How many patterns would you say you look for on a given day? Right now, I just kind of look for like I don't necessarily have like a pattern where I'm like I'm looking for the 007 pattern. No, I'm just kind of or the Harry Potter pattern or Expelliarmus. I'm kind of looking for just more so psychology, but also kind of like uh, I'm more of like a general guy. I'm not like, oh, I'm looking for a bounce short into like, this type of like that stuff does work. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not my real personality of how I can trade. What I'm looking for is more of like I'm either going to nail one of these weak stocks off the open that pop, or I'm going to look for one of these low floats that are really overextended and are looking to come up. I mean, if you look at, I remember there was one day where this kind of clicked for me, where there was a low float that was running, and there were a couple other stocks that were up on the day, and the big mover ended up being one of those other stocks on the day because that low float was so overextended and so many people got trapped on it that it just faded. So you kind of have to be open to all the stocks on the day. Like, of course, every long wants to long the low float. Everyone knows the low floaters are the ones that move super, super high and the ones that keep friggin' going. But
they get crowded.
Yeah, they do get very crowded. So you need to make sure that the other participants that are long are out in order for you to get these crazy move and that you're trapping, the short sellers. But for you people as short sellers and some longs, you can use this to kind of limit your risk, I think. I think that was probably like the goal that I wanted to have, was like so people could have another kind of perspective. And if you want to start trying to get into longing, I think this could definitely help you a lot. When you're watching tape recordings, are you watching the whole day or just key areas? Usually for me, I'm kind of like I'm a buff with them. Like I want to see everything that goes on. So I'm watching the whole day, which is kind of bad because sometimes they're pretty long, but I just want to try and pick up on all the types of stuff. One guy said, miss your charts on Twitter. I'm going to post again, I think, in the new year. The problem is that I was just like, I don't like I know when I start feeling cocky that I'm going to get humbled soon and that my mindset will not function well if I'm cocky. I need to be humble at all times. And the problem is that on Twitter, like I had so many people reaching out going like, oh, Harry, you're a god, or oh, Harry, you're this. Like I'd rather be known as like an average person rather than be known as, I love to help people. But like it got to a point where like it was so like I was like feeling on top of the world. I'm like, I can't be feeling like this. Like I know that I can't be feeling like that. And so basically I go in every day feeling like I'm kind of retired and that I don't need to trade and that I'm only going to trade the best stocks. and the best patterns and the best type of, setups. And that's kind of how my mindset has shifted. And it's made me probably a lot better trader, I think, over the past, when I stopped post versus when I was posting on Twitter, like, yeah, nailed RKDA today. But it's like now, like, that dopamine rush, I don't think is good for you. So I need to find a balance between like helping people and also managing my own ego, because I admitted to myself that it was a problem. You know what I mean? It gets addicting all the time. Just like, and it's like, I just wanted to take a break because I just think that like it was good for my own mental health to take a small break, and then I'll go back to posting again, I think. But yeah, that's just kind of how I felt about that. What factors do you consider for you to trust a line for a fantasy order? Just in the first bounce, the friends are probably the best part about that type of order, because you know that you have kind of the top part of that niche and the bottom part of that niche to rely on. And if that doesn't work, you're just out underneath that. What kind of strategies do you have for day two plays, buying break over previous day high? The day two plays, like you posted, your chart that you posted, that you were kind of going over, Aloha,
Yeah.
with I forget what it was, Sava maybe,
Or SVRA.
or yeah, there's too many S tickers. Yeah, that one is like one where I'm kind of looking for the stock to just stop breaking down on a day two, where like it's at a point where the bottom is in. So you can play it like Austin. Like me and Austin are two types of different traders, but I think it also adds like so much value, because I think these are like the only two types of long personalities that you can have. Like I don't think there's a middle, like I'm more like, he's more like, the trade that he made is like a 90%, that everyone's in trouble at that moment, especially when it's not breaking down. So you can kind of play those like that. What I like to do is I like to just wait for them to stop breaking down. What trading platform do you like and why? I recently have kind of gone back to Trade Zero a little bit, but I also like the Dash Trader Pro, program as well. But I didn't really I thought that there would be a big difference, but nah. I didn't really find a big difference. When starting your lines, do you round them up to the nearest whole $half, or where exactly are they? Usually, I try and be pretty general. I try not to. I find if I try and get too precise, like 2.86, like I'll kind of screw myself over somehow, where I'm like, oh no, it hit 2.89, like I can't take the trade anymore. But if I'm like the 280s to 290s line, that's where I'm like, okay, like I understand that I can take some there. Someone asked, so you prefer 10? Any preferences on price? There isn't. I don't really like to long anything over $20. I don't really like to long anything. Well, I mean, over like the $12 stocks are like okay, but I don't really like to long anything over $20. Like that's just a personal preference for me. What is a specific criteria of the stocks you pick to trade? I'm either looking for overextended low floats that are fading and trapping and that are kind of done putting in their lows and are starting to kind of curl up a little bit, or I'm looking for plays at the open that I can just scalp for a couple cents, like a quick kind of pop in mind, and that's about it. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Austin, or not.
No, I mean, I like two. I want something. I want something that has volume and that taints out of the open for a quick washout, or I want something that like you said has found its bottom and it's starting to base, and the shorts are in trouble.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like we pretty much have the same kind of mindset on a lot of these plays. I think I don't think there's been a time where I'm like, no, like I wouldn't do that. I think it's all like logic based, It's just like simple, like just psychology. How long did it take for me? It took me like 1.5 years of constant work. I'd say 2, I was really like I'd say I was consistent after 1.5, but after 2 years, it was like really like, for me to be consistently profitable long, it really didn't take me as long as I thought it would. It took about 6 months for me to really start working on it, but I also had experience short selling before that. So I also knew the psychology of, and I also started with first bounce. Like this first bounce pattern was really hot, like last March and last April and last May. in those winter months or spring months, sorry. So that also helped me get a lot more comfortable longing. And then I started to keep expanding my playbook and I just started to keep trying to learn new things instead of saying like, oh, I found the first bounce, I don't need to learn another pattern. I was like, okay, it's just like all the patterns that MIC teaches. Like if you have 5 patterns at your arsenal, you're not going out just looking for one on the day. And you're not only like, oh my God, like I'm only looking for first bounces today. Instead, you have 5 strategies kind of at your arsenal. So why wouldn't you try and learn? Like, this is just my personal, like, I'm just like, get familiar with all of them. So then when you see a first bounce, it's like, oh, I see a first bounce, I'm going to play a first bounce. But some people can't do this. But I mean, for me, it's just like, I try not to watch just one stock on the day because I know I'm going to try and force a trade. Instead, I kind of have 2 stocks or 3 stocks on the day where I'm like, I'm going to wait for one to set up. Because you could see the hot chick and it could just fade all day after it opens up, you know? Do I study a lot of short strategies to make better long positions? Unfortunately, yes, I do. The first resistance short can also be turned into a first support long, that type of stuff. So yeah, you can. You can.
But, yeah, I would say be careful though. Like if you're new to longing, don't. Like,
no, yeah,
yeah. Like we study a lot of short strategies to get better at longs, but it's so innate already, the short half of it. It's not like we're fresh to longs and fresh to shorts and be like, okay, so this is a short strategy, so this means that like, no, it's like we kind of know that the shorts are stuck in a sense, like because we were short sellers ourselves. I wouldn't try to be a new longer without being a short seller and then try to use a short that I didn't know. If I don't know the short strategy, I'm not going to look it up and be like, oh, shorts say, you know, this is.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to do the exact, like, I'm not looking to long. Like, I know there have been some death line reversals, but for the most part, I'm not looking to long a death line. I know they do happen once in a while, but I mean, with every pattern, you're always going to have some type of, you know, loss category. Nothing's ever 100%. It's just if you manage your risk well, you can really, you can take advantage of every pattern. What long and short setups aren't working well lately? It's more so, I'm not like a guy who's like, I guess the only thing that I haven't really seen working well lately is overextended stocks that keep running. That'd be it. I haven't seen that for a while where we get a stock that keeps going and going and go, you know, that type of move like that.
Watch out today. Like, that's
that'd be probably the only thing. But as for, I mean, I'm trying to play setups kind of when I see them. I'm not trying to think of like I'm sure there's been tons of stuff that I did like 3 weeks ago that doesn't even work in this current market. You know, I'm just always trying to adapt, like a little, you know, I'm always trying to adapt. Like I've honestly, like, I remember I honestly like love the uncertainty now of like what's going to happen this week. I'm so pumped for the action this week. Like, are these patterns going to change up? Like I'm excited for that. Like I like that kind of stuff, you know? But generally, like, the first bounce will always be the first bounce. The first resistance short will always be the first resistance short, you know? It's always going to be kind of stuff like that. It's just, but when you see it and when you see a good setup, like, just play it, you know?
How do you have the patience of holding on to large moves? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I just try to take half off and I try to hold the other half. That's what I do.
I'm like a 50-50 guy. You can see my F-Seal trade, like complete wrong mindset for that trade. But also, I just understand the potential of something like RKDA where I would honestly hold that stock. Like, also, the risk is pretty minimal on stocks like that. So when you know that you're only risking like under 10 cents and that's like the bottom, like when you're in at the bottom of some of those moves, like you can get a lot more comfortable. Also knowing that it's a low float and that knowing that all these shorts are trapped is like, and then it starts to wake up and creep up and all of a sudden it's in the 280s and you're like, holy shit, I think I know what's about to happen here. Yeah. And then boom, you get that big candle. And it's like, okay, now I'm pretty much done after that. Like I have no patience after that. Like that's pretty much it.
After when it halts one time, I'm like, that's it. Like I've taken at least half off. and like I know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
once it halts, I have like a third left.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Do you ever swing anything? I don't. Not long and not. Long. I just can't from a short seller. I just can't. Like
Yeah.
I just can't do it because I know there's dilution in everything we have. Like
Yeah, no, I'm more of like a scalper long. I'm not really a swing trader. I know there are a lot of like there are people so fundamentals don't play any part. For the most part, no, unless it's share structure.
yeah, fundamentals matter the bigger your time frame. If you're a scalper, fundamentals don't really matter at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I mean, if you're a swing trader, fundamentals start to matter. If you're like a multi-month trader, fundamentals start to matter. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
trying to trade, you're trying to be in and out in 20 minutes. It doesn't
Yeah.
really play that much of a role.
Yep. Any idea of average time in stock? Sometimes um, it really depends on the pattern.
Depends how.
Um, that's a tough one because I've never been in, I don't think, long for more than an hour
Yeah.
or
Those are,
even 30 minutes for the most part.
yeah.
It
Normally
depends.
they'll lose. Like you're
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty good at cutting because I'm just like, nah, this is not working. I'm just like, I'm usually if I'm taking like I find for longs, like it either works in the first 5 minutes or it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's just it. You just move on and you're like, okay, well, I know a lot of scalpers that are happy with 10-cent move and only take 1 cent stops. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on your type of trading strategy,
I
I
don't know
guess.
how you take a 1 cent stop loss.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know about. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I think there are. Well, I've heard of like people who are like super insane of being able to take 3 or 4 cent risk, but like for me, like I can't do that. Like that's insane. Like if you're honestly getting that type of risk reward, though, go you. You know.
Yeah, I'm more of a like, yeah, it should work in about 10 minutes or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Something's running. Do you keep moving your stock loss up, or are you watching the tape for when it starts? I'm kind of like. Yeah, no, Chris is right. The S&B, some of the S&B capital traders do. That's what I was kind of touching on. Like some of them do. Like I forget what his name is, like G-Man or whatever. Yeah, some of those guys do. But I mean, generally speaking, I'm not. I'm okay with taking a 10-cent loss. Like that's okay with me. Like I'm okay with taking a 20-cent loss. Like that's okay with me, especially if I'm taking a 10 to 20 cent. Like if I'm taking a 20-cent loss on something like RKDA, well, my reward was like $1. So it's like that's okay. Yeah, I mean, some of these traders from SMB do take these whatever, but I mean, generally speaking, for the most part, on these type of patterns, on these type of plays, like, um, you know, yeah,
He's good.
yeah, but you have to be okay with taking paper. Yeah, I mean, you just need to be able. Like, I don't personalize trading at all. Like, I'm just like, okay, I was wrong. That's okay. How can I get better? That's pretty much it. Like, I go over my trades at the end of every week. I'm like, listen, the last 2 weeks have kind of been garbage for me because I've been like in and out, and like some of my friends have came over. But generally speaking, like I was so happy that the holidays were over because I could get back to business of waking up every day and just like kind of being there. But it's tough if they're yeah. See, I'm not all about the tape either. I'm not a tape trader. I'm not a fundamentals trader. I'm not a low float trader. I'm a whatever works trader, to be honest. Um, that's just it. Like I can't say that I only trade off the tape because that would be a lie. Because I'm also using psychology and I'm also using I'm trying to combine everything at like every single little piece of information that I can. I'm trying to combine. And that's why it's so important to know kind of so much about these stocks before you trade them, because if you've done like everything, all your prep work, if you know that there's like resistance at like $3 or there was resistance. I remember there was one day that I messaged Aloha. It was a day where like one of those old ones that started with a Y. I forget what it was called, but it was like Yama or something, or Yuma or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those stocks. I remember I messaged you and I was like, hey, bro, like you looking at the 280 line? And you were like, yeah, bro, that's sick. Like I was looking at that line too. But it's like, we are trying to use like everything, like the outer, the inner. Like I'm just trying to do what works, And it's just like, I think this is something that's like, with anything, the more experience you have and like the harder you work, like you can get there. Like, it's just, I'm trying to put everything for that question. Like, I'm just trying to put like the psychology, the, resistance and support, I am using the tape. Yeah. But it's like, I'm using all of the variables that I can, where it's not like I just don't have a holy grail signal. I think when I first heard about the tape, I was like, damn, like this is the only thing I need to learn. Anything else, I'm just going to throw it out the window. And yeah, I that's completely wrong. Like I was trying to look for like holy grail signals where like they're just not there, It's just putting everything together, and that just really helps me a lot. But yeah, no, that was my little rant about that. But I think that needs to be said because a lot of people are like, I'm just going to watch the tape, or I'm just going to watch this, or I'm just going to watch that. But once you combine everything together, like that really gets you there. That's what I think probably was that's my aha moment. If I ever had anything, was like, instead of just looking for one thing, I'm trying to combine everything together. Do I trade with P&L on my screen, or do I hide it? I personally hide it. I can do the mental math in my head to know how much I'm up or down. But the problem is that there's something wrong with my brain where if I see that I'm up and I lose just even a little bit, I get too like attached. That's just how I am. So yeah, I hide it. Yeah, the tape is very important, but depth, not the entire picture. Yeah, like I think it is, but like it's like, you just need to be paying attention. What are confirmation signals you like looking for on a chart? On a chart, I guess it would be just like, just like anything. Like if you draw a line at $2 and $2 starts holding, that's a pretty good confirmation, Like that's the type of stuff that I look for on a chart.
Yeah, higher lows.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
Higher
And
lows.
yeah, if you go back on this recording, I think the day 2 trade that you had is like a perfect psychology example of like, okay, every single short that shorted in this area is now stuck. And like, this is almost their ad zone. They're adding more because they think that this is done. And then boom, it just pops like that. Like I'm a fangirl for that trade, to be honest. I love that.
It's good. I actually had, oh man, like that's why I was really disappointed in that trade because I loaded the boat on that trade.
Yeah.
I loaded the boat on that ad. I added so hard over 60.
Yeah.
I added so hard on that 60. Like I tripled my size on that 60.
Oh.
I loaded the boat and like I took half off at 5 on principle, and it stopped.
Oh my God, I know.
Oh dude, that was gonna make like 2 months. Like
I know.
I got half off. Whatever.
I know.
Duh, when it stuffs like that, though, you just like.
Oh yeah, no, you just know. Like it's like I forget this meme I saw, but it was like some guy was like trying to. Anyway, it's just funny. Is a hold of a line higher lows bring conviction? Yeah, it is. Is a hold of a line plus higher lows bring the most conviction to enter a trade long for you? Yes. Yeah. Holding is subjective to 2-3 minutes. Good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. Like that's more than good enough for me. I like if you go back and you look to where, I don't know if I have the chart at all, but it was CEI. I remember that stock. It was like the first day it ran. Anyway, if you look at any stock that comes down and then bounces off that line, like that's good enough, Sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's 2. I'm just trying to make sure that area, like that I'm right, and it just doesn't go straight through,
Yeah. It stalls at least.
I think volume really matters on specific candle as well. Yeah, if the stock is dead, like that just, that sucks. Like, it's just like, it's not going to give you what you want, Like today, I remember it was Archon today, was it? Or there was one of them today?
The chart was fine. The volume just
exactly. Yeah.
Wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're just sitting there, and it's like you see the volume candles are like 20K volume candles. It's like that's not going to buy the ticket. Like,
yeah, no, it's not. And I honestly, that was like it. Honestly, it was kind of. it was just like there was no volume at all. Whereas that other stock that I traded in the morning, what did open up with a decent amount of volume, and that's why I added, because like there was a bunch of selling, just wasn't breaking down. I figured like, listen, if this isn't breaking down, like this is probably going to go in the up direction, and it's really not with, that much risk. Whereas, I just thought the probability was good for a big up candle. You can get fooled if it crosses a line with no. Yeah, exactly. Like you can always get. There's always like different little tricks in this game. It honestly, for that type of question, it really depends on the type of trader and the type of setup. I think.
No.
That one is really setup specific, I think.
Yeah. I typically trade with the same amount of risk, though. That's just the way I think about it.
Yeah, that'll never change. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, no, that's a good point to bring up. Whereas, like, I'm not gonna risk more, but I might add more size, if that makes any sense. What is the volume you like to see pre-market? I don't really have a set criteria. I think, you can go and look on a spreadsheet and find how much volume that needs to be. But at the end of the day, their float's been rotated like 10 times sometimes by the time it opens up. It's not really I have a specific number. Like, when something's crowded. When something's the hot chick of the day. If you don't get that type of feeling, then chances are it's probably not going to be, kind of what you want.
Like SES end of day when it didn't tank. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I knew it was like, this is not what's supposed to be happening right now. If I'm going to be right, it should be tanking.
Exactly.
Like, that's how,
Yeah, exactly. Bro, I thought you got a haircut.
Dude, I did, man.
That's insane. Bro, that flow is sick.
It sucks that it's this short, though.
Do you want it longer?
Yeah, it'll be longer.
Oh.
Does the catalyst play a role in your decision to trade it? Sometimes.
Sometimes, but it's not like I only trade one certain type of news. The problem is in this game is that, like, I've seen some of the most crazy stuff where it's like, I've seen something run on getting an offering, Like, why is that a catalyst? There's just I think, like, it just for me, like, what do I think the type of news that matters? Definitely some biotech news on, like, the different type of phases and, like, great trials. Like, some of that can be really, like, phase 3 news, good phase 3, that can be really powerful. But I think, like, I'm not, like, I know people that do track news, and I think that they do okay on it. But for me, I'm not really a news tracker. I'm more of, like, a setup and psychology guy. Just for me. Yeah, big name. Oh, yeah, if there's a big name, yeah, that's actually, like Amazon or...
That's the only one really that I do. Like,
I remember NBY. I think it was NBY or one of those stocks that had Amazon in it, and it just friggin' flew. And then people were like, yeah, no. If it has a big name in the news, yeah.
NBEV and Coke, remember that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yes.
That was a good one.
NBY, yeah. This guy said NBY. Yeah, I remember that exact ticker. Is this a chart? No, that wasn't the one that I was talking about. But no, I did. That was insane for me. I remember that day that I was just really proud of myself that day where I was like, yeah. Because usually I didn't nail and bail that one. I was super patient on it.
Would I try to go long on bad news? Like trial fails? No, I never do those. Like,
no, I don't think so, no. Usually if a stock is gapping up, that's usually a gap down. Or like an automatic death candle or something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I use the news that way. Like if it's a clinical trial fail, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, no one's ever wanting to buy that. I'm
not buying that dip.
That's a potential end for the company.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line. Like,
potential end for the company, yeah.
Like that's a potential just perma halt.
That's when traders. That's the moment when traders become investors.
Exactly. Oh my God.
That's the day, and so you just became an investor.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like a forced buy-in.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yes,
Do you remember when you had the moment of I think I understand stocks now, All 7 times.
Yeah.
Like all 7 times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It does like, man, if I had an AHA calculator, like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Just like write a little check mark, like, I know what to do now. And then like next day comes, I'm like, damn it.
Damn it. Yeah. 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 Most recently last week.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You're always learning, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a mindset. Yeah, you just need to have a growth mindset and accept that you won't know anything and that, yeah, there is a lot of uncertainty and you won't get every long and you won't get every short. You just need to just be patient, pick your spots and watch every day. And if you have that mindset, like, I think that's a pretty good one to have. Yeah, MBY, still a piece of crap, but the stock did squeeze out a lot of people. I think it went from $1 to $3. It still did go to like from 4 to 30 cents, but like, you need buying power to short on the way down also.
Risk management is definitely king.
Yeah, exactly. That's number one.
Say like live to trade another day is the number one rule.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's my motto for life.
Like
I'm gonna get it tattooed on my chest.
I'm gonna get it tattooed, on my junk, but like long ways, right?
My buddy got a Gucci tattoo on his ball sack. I'm not kidding.
A Gucci symbol.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have reached this segment of the webinar.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that happened. Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah.
In the gooch. It's in the gooch, right? Like
yeah. Yeah. No, this was more in the sack.
Oh yeah.
I don't even. That'd be so awkward. Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like yeah, imagine. I mean, dude, if I was the chick, I'd probably leave.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he shows it off as much anymore, but we used to be in bars and it like, I was like,
it off. Hey, bro, look at this.
Yeah, no, like that's actually what would happen, and people like everyone would be like, oh my god, bro. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely an interesting. Yeah. Does anyone have any more questions?
Yeah, any more?
You don't scale much. 1 or 2 ads, pretty close to each other, full size. Sometimes half. Sometimes.
I always feel I always have an ad.
Honestly, for each one, it's kind of different sizing because sometimes it's half, but sometimes I know that there's a potential that this is the bottom, so I can go.
Full, yeah. Sometimes I go full if it's close to the bottom.
Yeah, but that's pretty much, the only time. I'm also trying to think like, okay, where's the stock in relation to the bottom? Where's the, just stuff like that.
Biolage shampoo and conditioner.
Oh, I thought you were like a Pantene type of guy.
No, Biolage. It's pricey.
What percent? It's mostly like,
how much when you get the full risk.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you're gonna lose, you're gonna lose the most amount you want to lose.
I agree.
So don't go in too big too early, or like you're not gonna be able to choose where you want your size.
Should you only trade long or short, or can you be? I think there's a lot of people that are. I mean, yeah, you can be good at both. I think the main thing is like not worrying about being long or not worrying about being short, and just looking at the chart and letting the chart kind of confirm. That type of stuff. Like say like if I had a level 3, like I wish I had a level 3. Yeah, exactly. But that's what we have to try and do is decipher, like, where do we think longs would be? Where do we think shorts would be? And it's just that type of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
If you can trade both, it makes you better. Yeah, I agree. If you can understand the short perspective in the trade and where shorts are, but also understand the long perspective in the trade, like, where longs are, I think it's really good.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's just it gives you a more holistic approach to trading, even if you only trade one side. Even if you only trade one side, just I think knowing both helps.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, for sure, Steven. Yeah. All right, guys. It's about like 8:50.
Yeah.
You guys ready to you guys good to call it? Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Harry, for coming on.
No problem. It was definitely fun.
You did all the work for me, man. That was the easiest webinar I ever did.
Oh, that's funny.
That was the easiest one I ever did.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I love talking.
Dude, 2 times said it was the greatest webinar of 2020.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, 2 times. It was the greatest webinar of 2020.
Yeah.
We need a reading the tape webinar now. Dude, maybe you need to do that live with Val.
I think so too. Because it's not like a set signal type of thing, you know? It's more so of like a feely. Like you're not gonna get the same type of feels with a 20 mil as a 5 mil, or even a 5 mil with a 1 mil. Like it's just gonna be different all the time. It's just the personality of the stock, you know?
Right. Thanks, guys.
I wish there was a holy grail like level 2 signal though.
Yeah, me too. I mean, me too.
Yeah.
I would trade every time I saw it in the day, and then like take them the rest of the week off.
Exactly.
Oh. Anyway, thanks for showing up, guys. It's getting kind of late.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to bed.
Me too, dude. I'm gonna go to bed.
All right, bro. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Harry.
No problem.
Take it easy, everybody.
All right, bros.
See ya.
Peace out.
Peace.